And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
What Davey, who's the narrator, just said will play a key role in the upcoming events. The actual discomfort and aggravation towards the player is going to be very evident and
to be fair,
play a big
it's not
role.
like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
What Davey's talking about here, there is one of the more happier games that Coda made. It was something that actually made me smile and feel good about myself from playing, and it had a very happy and meaningful message. A message that will forever be changed by the events to come.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
And here's where you see I accidentally forgot the code. Got the numbers mixed up. And here's where I realized I typed in the code wrong. I would have skipped over this, but I thought you might as well want to see how irritating this bit is for me. And here's where I get it wrong once more. Yeah, I don't know whether I suddenly got dyslexia at this part or I don't know. But yes. So just to put in mind, and I skipped over that again, and I remember getting really irritated. Imagine how irritating this would be for Davey's perspective, where he didn't have anything to go off of. He had to look into the code itself. I'll let the story continue and speak for itself.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
This is one of the first times we see a need for Coda. Oh, not Coda, Davey.
This game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I
His
remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them. I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years, I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
The 3 dots were a random piece of art, I guess you could say, on one of the previous levels or games. Sorry what I was interrupted by back then. The need of Davy to understand, to complete, to make the games have a meaning or an ending is torturous to him. He needs it. He doesn't just want it. He's consumed by said need to understand Coda. I know I'm being vague, but the game truly needs to portray it by itself.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed.
Once again, Davey talks about how he failed, how it's almost his fault that there isn't meaning in the game directly. That there should be. That he should be able to do something which he cannot. To understand why. The question that he's always constantly asking. Why? Soon we'll get an answer to that.
Where did I screw up? I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you.
And here's where, after playing so many games, after looking into the mind of Coda, you're shocked. He doesn't like Davy, who you're told is a friend of his, and he doesn't want him to play his games. He doesn't want to speak to him anymore at all. Now, why would Davy cut himself off like that? The initial thought is maybe it's the depression which was seen in a prison level, or maybe he just said something to him. There had to be an explanation. The next room will show the reason why.
I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable. And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
And here's where we find out that maybe Coda didn't have a problem at all. Maybe the criticism, maybe the thoughts that were put out by Davy, the seemingly level-headed and intelligent guy that we've had through all of us, is actually hurting inside. His pain, his misery is all reflected by what he's saying about Coda. That maybe the depression in the prison game wasn't Coda's depression, but rather Davy's. You see, Davy was looking for acceptance, looking for meaning, looking for a solution to make himself feel important. And he used Coda to do that. But Coda was a recluse. He didn't like people knowing about it. He, in a other level, can I, no, I can't show you, but it's called The Machine, and there's a bunch of press standing outside, constantly swarming him. That are the people who got attracted by his games when Davy showed them it. They, when, and the reason they were so interested was because of Davy's description of the inner meaning that he talks about. Lampposts were put at the end of most of Coda's games, if not all of them. They were a constant, basic addition to say, it's over. Now, whether this sign means literally he was the one who was adding it to give the story. I mean, that he was so needy to do something like that, to have a solution, to have an ending, to all make it make sense. Or whether he merely gave it meaning to require him to add that in to make it an ending, that he was influencing Coda's work in a way that Coda didn't want to end it. This next room is one of the most harshest, but also important rooms. Now, this and the next act, rather.
And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
This next one hits really hard. When I am around you, I feel physically ill. He was sucking the life from Coda. He was requiring a specific change in Coda's process, his artistic vision. Even though Coda was fully aware of Davy and his influence, he still kept doing it because he felt like he needed to, for the sake of his friend. You desperately need something that I cannot give you. I literally don't have it. The need that Davy possesses. He wasn't depressed. He just had a low point, which was part of his creative process. And here's the number one thing. The fact that you think I'm frustrated or broken says more about me than you. This is the fact that most people, most critics, most writers, when they judge someone else or the author, when they see something they don't like or something that affects them inside, they say, since it makes me feel this way, the author must be this way. When rather, it's something staring them deep in the right in the face, screaming for them to recognize it, but they don't want it to see. It's the mirror that none of us ever want to look at. Because it shows our dark side, our need and our desperate and the desperate reality that we are broken. the message that maybe all of the pain and criticism that we inflict upon other people is actually our own. Many people theorize that the creator, after making the Stanley Parable, which was a big hit, a very fantastic game, people saw the different endings and the different emotional changes that the game put upon you, and they said that Davey was affected that way, which is the actual name of the creator of this and the Stanley Parable. And whatever Davey said, they just threw away as denial. Maybe the actual critics and writers were wrong, but they never allowed for him to say a word. And if he did anything else, it would feel like he was a fraud. I'm gonna remain quiet for this next area, because of the true measure and power the next dialogue presents.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
This puzzle reoccurs throughout all the games a lot. Almost all the games. And it's where you open this, and then you close it, and as it's closing, you go behind the door, and in the inside of the room, there's a switch on the door that you press just like this one, and then the other side of the room will open. This door is different. There's no switch.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
That was the most powerful scene in this game, arguably. I'm going to stop here due to just the fact that the ending has a lot of space and time, and I'm already running way over our normal time period, but this is an important message that I feel needs to be shown. I looked at many reviews and reflections, and this is where I'm basing all my ideas off of, although I agree with them completely, and though they're not all completely my ideas, I still, after playing this game quite a long time ago, I felt a lot of this. I felt like the portrayal that Davey was putting on all the other games and everything that Coda had worked on. Coda being, to remind you, Coda is the person who's made all these games besides the one that the pause screen is currently looking at. Davey goes on to talk about his need for acceptance, his need to know what he is doing is right, that he's not a bad person for what he does, that he needs approval, he needs to know that he's doing something and he's not just wasting his time, that he's doing the right thing. That his actions are not worthless, that they mean something. That's human nature. We are all arguably like that. We all look for that approval from our peers, or that incessant need to know that we're not just wasting our time. The fear, anger, and depression that we put on other people, that the stereotypes and anger that we throw at them, sometimes we'll reflect on ourselves, and that's why hypocrisy is such a slap in the face, and that's why most hypocrites don't even see it, because they want to deny it so passionately, because they don't want to accept what's facing them in the mirror. I think when we judge other people, when we say that really means that without any real proof, it's because we feel it within ourselves, that we realize that's part of us talking back and not necessarily the creator. This is thought about in a lot of symbolism, though the author might not exactly mean that, or might not have even meant to put something in. They put in a form of symbolism that affects them, that makes them think that the author is affected in some way by this. That there's an incessant need to decrypt and unravel the true meaning, which isn't shown, which isn't told to us. It's something we infer due to our own thoughts, our own experiences. And though one could argue the subconscious or preconscious has put those in and identified, and so you can identify that that really does apply to the writer. And in most cases, creations often reflect the creator, yes, but not always. Not every assumption a critic or someone who's writing a review, or even just a person taking in the creation sees, doesn't mean it's true. This game has a very, very powerful and emotional meaning throughout it. The desperateness, the need for an answer. We've all been like that once in our lives. And this is something that many people think about, and something I think we all need to think about when we judge or think, or heck, even consume any work at whatsoever. Before we say anything about it, before we judge anything about it, we need to think about this. I know this video was long, and I know I probably could have just said all of this in about 10 minutes at max. But I feel like this game needs to be experienced, and I even feel like I might even need to play through the entire game, but the only reason I'm not even doing that is because it's an hour and a half at seemingly minimal playtime. I encourage you to buy this game. It's only about $8, and to play through it yourself. It's very powerful, and it only takes an hour and a half. But I encourage you to do it in one sitting, because the true message, the true impact, it hits you. And I know I've probably spoiled most of the ending, but at least watch a video of someone else playing through it and see their reaction. Because the true meaning, the double entendres that are put throughout this entire thing, it's mind-blowing how warped something can become. And I thank you for sitting through the entire video if you have, and please share this way of thinking with other people, because I feel like it's something this day and age really needs to understand, really needs to comprehend. And Judgment is one of the harshest and almost necessary thing for humanity. So please be kind when you pass it. Thank you for watching, James. See you Thursday.